The congregation has gotten to know you as Ryan the preacher, but who is Ryan the person?
I played golf with a member of the congregation. He told me afterwards that he was like, I haven't played much golf with you, but that was the worst you've ever played.
You were right.
Thank you.
I was wrong.
Oh, wow. This is the greatest moment of my life.
As you look to the future of Lincoln Berean, what are you most excited about? And what do you think will be the biggest challenges?
Welcome back. This again is a two-part kind of special episode without Aidan, where we just thought it'd be fun to have an episode where I get to ask Brian questions and then Brian gets to ask me questions. And so that's where we are. So good to be back.
Yeah, good to be back.
Yes.
And I think you could probably film it most days and my dress code would look about the same.
About the same.
Not much change.
So Marshall,
Yeah, Ryan,
anything you'd like to say before we get started?
thanks for being here. Hey,
Hey.
guys.
Marshall doesn't add much.
Yeah, that wasn't much.
Typically.
All right. I don't know. I mean, you already said it also, Brian.
Yeah.
I mean, it's your turn to be in charge. So whatever
Oh, wow.
questions I know it's a dangerous thing
Now,
to
Brian, we should
allow.
say Brian is a very seasoned podcaster.
Yeah.
I didn't know that everybody knows about your podcast. Do you want to tell us about your podcast?
Yeah, I've been doing it for 5 years. It's called Talking Truth, Talking Truth with Dan Whitney, a.k.a. Larry the Cable Guy. Mm-hmm. And then we usually have a guest. And we're really targeting people that probably wouldn't walk through the doors of a church.
Yeah.
But they listen because they're trying to figure out why Larry the Cable Guy is talking about the Bible.
Yeah.
And we work our way through books of the Bible. We've gone all the way through Genesis, 1 Samuel. We're almost done with 2 Samuel. We've done some stuff in Proverbs. And
Be a lot of people that love his comedy, but aren't aware of his faith,
yeah, he's very sincere. He's very strong in his faith. And of course, I'm really funny. So
Yeah, that's right. You too.
it all
That's
works
the
out.
dynamic.
Like the Odd Couple.
Yeah, we are the odd couple.
Yeah.
So are you Walter Matthau or Jack Lemmon?
Oh, see, that's the wrong odd couple.
Oh, you're thinking of the TV show.
Yeah, I grew up on the TV show.
So did I go
guy that
further
became
back or did the
Quincy.
TV show come? The TV show was after the movie, wasn't it?
No,
TV show was first.
Yeah.
Or was it a stage play first?
I don't know.
This is important. This is why
getting us into
this is
the
why I'm
woods
here.
to see what he does.
Marshall. Shh.
That's for your podcast.
You
Marshall.
asked me to contribute.
Marshall has a movie podcast. I don't know if you knew that. But
That doesn't surprise me.
yeah.
He's a talented guy.
All right. Well, good. Well,
Brian, I need to let you know this very important fact. The Odd Couple originated in 1968 with the film with Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau. The TV series with Tony Randall and Jack Klugman came in 1970.
that's right. Tony Randall.
Oh my.
Marshall just wanted to prove he was right.
I had,
You were right.
thank you.
I was wrong.
Oh, wow. This is the greatest moment of my life.
That's what he wanted,
Just
wasn't he? He was
make
fishing
that-
for it.
Make that your, when your phone rings, your alarm when you wake up in the morning could be Brian saying that.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, man. It's
Yeah.
going to be the last thing I think of when I close my eyes and the first when I wake up.
All right.
All right, now do whatever the heck you're going to do for the next hour.
Okay.
All right. You ready to go?
Let's go.
All right. So I had to write mine down. I'm not as smooth as you were.
Oh, boy.
And I'm also not real good at thinking right off the top of my head.
Okay.
So question number 1. The congregation has gotten to know you as Ryan the preacher. But who is Ryan the person? What are your hobbies? What do you like to do when you're not at work? What do you like to do with your family? What are some funny things your family and friends would say about you? And how would your kids describe you?
Oh, my.
So it's just a general idea.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot.
Yeah, so hobbies. I'm not like you. I don't have a long list of hobbies, but there are some things that I grew up doing. My dad loved golf. So one of my favorite things to do still to this day is golfing. Part of it is because it reminds me of him, but I think the other part of it is I think it's beautiful, being out in nature. Even when I'm not playing good golf, I still really enjoy it because it's just a chance to get out and see see creation and get some exercise. And there's some great golf around Nebraska. So I love doing that with my kids. I try to get my kids into it.
Do you have a favorite course in Nebraska?
Around here, I love Woodland Hills, which is out in Eagle. It's a really good course. Lincoln's dropped off because it used to be that you could play a lot of courses around town, and now a number of them have gone private. And so you're kind of down to the city courses and then one or two more private courses that allow the public to play them. But Woodland Hills out in Eagle is great because you're out in the middle of nowhere. You're driving through cornfields, and then it's good golf. I find that there are a few things I like to do where nothing else really matters. Everything, you're so concentrated on the one thing that's right in front of you that everything else kind of fades into the background. So golf is that way for me because I'm not good enough that I can just do it without thinking. I have to think. And then by the end of the year, I think too much, and then I'm a horrible golfer. I played golf with a member of the congregation when I was on sabbatical, and he told me afterwards that he was like, I haven't played much golf with you, but that was the worst you've ever played. And he was right.
Thanks. Yeah.
He was right. But then he said, but it didn't seem to bother you very much. And it doesn't. It's great to be out there. You can do it with other people. But that's something my dad really gave to me.
Yeah.
My kids are all very into sports. And so between soccer and basketball, and then my son played football this year for Lincoln East. Yeah, you're a Lincoln High guy. Yeah.
That's hard to hear.
Yeah. So we became Spartans this year, and I love watching my kids play sports, and they love it. Janae and I love watching movies. I've seen a lot of movies, maybe less so now, but I love old movies. Marshall and I connect often on just talking about old movies, and I kind of like getting lost.
Like The Odd Couple?
The Odd Couple.
Was that a movie?
That's a great
yeah, it was
movie.
A movie.
Yeah, what year
Jack,
did that come out?
That was 1968, bro.
Look at that.
Oh, before the TV
Jack
show.
Lemmon and Walter Matthau,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Two of the
Really
greats.
funny movie.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. Then coffee. I like drinking coffee.
Yeah, you do.
So when I travel, with my global outreach job, when I was a missionary, I got to, you get to see a lot of the world, but a way to see a place is you pick a coffee shop you want to go to, and rather than going to a big, there's Starbucks in every city anymore. I don't want to go there. I want to go to the local place and get to know the local people. So I love coffee.
Yeah.
I drink a lot of it. And then reading. Those are kind of my hobbies, but they're not right now, man, just the season of life I'm in. I mean, it's kids.
Yeah. Kids become the hobby.
Yeah. It's my kids. It's my kids and my family. It's driving my kids to this or to that, kind of following their hobbies a little bit. My youngest is really into basketball all of a sudden. Never played. Going to play this year, and obsessed. And so it's going to the Y with him and shooting hoops, and that's a lot of my time.
Yeah. That's great.
So that's some hobbies. You had a whole list of things in there.
I covered a lot of it. What's one thing either Janae or your kids would say is just kind of funny about you? Something maybe they make fun of you for, just laugh with you about something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit of a, I'm a little bit of my kids make fun of me because I'm a little bit of a germaphobe. And so I'll be like, hey, wash your hands again. It's time to eat dinner. And they'll be like, Dad, it's fine. That goes all the way back. We just got my family just went to Mexico with my mom. It was a big family trip. And when I was a kid, even when I was like 6 years old, someone warned me about not drinking the water in Mexico. And so the big joke was, even as a 6-year-old, I'm ordering, take a Coke with no ice. No, I do not put any ice in that Coke. And so still to this day, I've never really been sick overseas, and it's probably because I'm so careful about what water I eat or drink or consume. They do make fun of me for coffee. They like to talk to me about how much of an addict I am. They like to make fun of, we talked previously about how you and I both have a serious face, and they like to make fun of the fact that I have a face that is always serious. So it'd be like, Dad, smile. Will you smile a little bit? Will you laugh a little bit? And even though I'm having a great time, Lucia, especially my daughter, likes to remind me that I haven't smiled in a bit. And so she'll try to get me to smile.
Do you smile in pictures?
Yeah. I mean, I'll try.
Yeah, I really don't.
You don't?
No, and whoever's taking it will do everything to get me to smile.
Yeah, I
and
will.
I'm like, I'm smiling. This is my smile.
I'll make myself.
Mm-hmm. And then do you look at the picture and think, well, that's weird.
That's a horrible smile.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Lucia likes to make fun of me about that kind of stuff a lot. They tease me a lot about what they're very unimpressed. And I think most kids aren't very impressed by their dad. They're very unimpressed by me. And so they like to tease me about, what I'm watching. Why are you watching that? It's the boringest show ever. I mean, just any number of things they like to get after me. But I am a bit of a germaphobe, especially with like raw meat and stuff like that. And they like to make fun of me a lot about that.
See, I just see that as like common sense.
Exactly.
Because I have some of the same tendencies. When my girls were little, we went like to a fast food restaurant and the French fries had touched the table. I'm like, you got to throw them away.
Yeah, right.
But they thought that was funny.
Yeah.
So sometimes they'd just look at me,
right,
pour their fries on the table and eat them and just stare at me. And it'd be like, yeah.
Now, Spain got rid of some of that from me because you're living a very public life, and Sam was 1.5 when we went, or he was 1 when we went. So he's just sprawled all over a subway, the subway as we're going, he's like laying on the ground, and I've tried forever to get him to get up, but there did come a point where I was like, oh, listen, I gotta remind myself that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And kids have eaten much worse than what Sam just touched. But the French fries on the table would bother me too.
Yeah. So the second question, you were a young adult pastor here, then a missionary to Spain, then a missions pastor. So now is being the senior pastor just another pastoral role, or is it different? And in what ways is it different? One more part to that. And what has been the biggest surprise or surprises for you in the senior pastor role?
Oh, man. These questions are...
Oh, yeah. I've labored for weeks.
Multi. Yeah, I bet you did. There is in each one of those roles. So young adult pastor, missions, global outreach pastor, directional team pastor was kind of a little iteration there, and then senior pastor, lead pastor. There is a thread that runs through all of them, and it's a desire to help people know and follow God. And there's different ways you do that. Part of what drives me to be a missions pastor is there are places in the world that they don't know God. They no one has preached. And so therefore it's that undercurrent of, man, I long for people to know and follow God, for them to know Jesus and become followers of his, that drives all that stuff. But the details are quite different. And so the young adult stuff was very niche, and it was very fun. It was helping people in their early 20s and, the early 30s figure out how to follow God in the complexities of the life that they're walking. And post-college offers a lot of challenges and maybe a lot of realities that you didn't expect, and disappointments often. I was dealing with a lot of people who were single, and there are very few people who plan on being single. And so you're meeting them in that. The missions thing was completely out of left field. Never in my wildest dreams would I have expected to have done that. I still, when I was just with my family, there are times where I look back and say, I cannot believe we got on a plane and did that. It still is.
You're talking about the Spain
talking
season?
About being a missionary, getting on the. So
Yeah.
I grew up, right? So probably ties into the germaphobe thing. I'm a little bit of a worrier. As a kid, I mean, my goal was to live in my parents' basement forever and be single and go to UNO and drive a Camaro, because that's what my uncle did. And I thought he was the coolest guy ever.
It's very popular today, by the way.
Yeah.
Everything but the Camaro.
Yeah,
part.
everything but the Camaro. That's right. That's what everyone's doing. And that was probably that was driven by fear a lot, I think, for me as a kid. And so my aunts and uncles will still marvel at the fact that, of all the people that they could imagine getting on an airplane, moving to a foreign country, I would have been the last. And so I look back on it myself and I think, how did we, mind is blown that we were willing to do that, and that I was willing to do that specifically. But again, it was driven by obedience. We just had this incredible sense that's what we're supposed to do. I still am astounded that we did it, but it's what the Lord called us to. But again, the driving passion there is in Spain. There is no church. If there is no church, then there's no opportunity for people to follow Jesus and know God. And so that was the driving element. Same thing with being a missions pastor. That brings to the lead pastor, which again, I think you would say, I didn't ask you this, but I think you would say in 2018, if you had told me what 2025 would look like, I would have said, there's no chance. That's never would have expected.
Yeah. It wasn't
this.
what we were thinking. No.
So it's a step of obedience. There still is a thread that is helping people know God, come to know the truth. So it's similar, but different. And here's the difference for me, at least. I'd be curious to hear your answer too. Is it's moved from a niche thing with people in their 20s. And now it's way more the responsibility, the concern, my pastor's heart is spread across a much larger group of people, and my concerns are much larger than they were when I was a young adult pastor. So there it was focusing on people in their 20s. Now it's people who are just being born and people who are dying. And it is a passion for all of them in every season of life to know God and to come to know him more and love him more. And that just brings a certain, you can't, what I've learned is no matter how hard you try, until you're in that position, you really don't know what that feels like. You just can't. And so you have this concern for everyone that's under the care of the church, and therefore under the care of the leadership team and the senior pastor, the lead pastor. And for me, it feels like an incredible opportunity to learn to trust God, because what you just learn is the thing that people so desperately need isn't me at all. It's God, but I still carry a burden of responsibility to lead them and shepherd them well. Couldn't have anticipated that. But that feels drastically different to me, even though there are similarities. That makes sense?
Yeah, I think so. And I keep using the word senior pastor, but
yeah.
Senior pastor,
Same
lead
thing.
pastor,
Same
we're saying
thing.
the same
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, I think I don't think it's possible for pastors to understand until they're in that role.
Right.
They just think it's a different role.
Right.
But there's a weight to
Yeah.
it. It's
Right.
like being the business owner.
Right.
So we are team-based.
Right.
I was team-based, you're team-based. We have a board of elders and all that. But there's still nobody who carries the weight.
Right.
Like the lead pastor, you're
Right.
like the business owner.
Right.
And whatever else happens, you're responsible, you're accountable.
Yeah. And I don't think, again, you and I talked about this. I don't think you know that till you know it.
Yeah.
You know, there was a point where I think you and I talked about, maybe the best thing to do, this is probably 2017 or 2018. Maybe the best thing to do would be to leave and go to a smaller church like what you experienced in Broken Bow, because, until you're doing it, you just don't know what it's like. But I would say, when you all brought us onto the directional team, I think we came to an elder meeting and they asked how we're feeling. And my answer was like sobered. When people say, when we announced the transition in August 21, there were people who reached out and said, congratulations. And I remember thinking, and I said to a number of them who I was close enough with, because I know people just mean well when they say that. My response is, it doesn't feel like a congratulations kind of moment. It feels like, I'll pray for you. There's a responsibility, there's a weight of responsibility that comes with it that, it's not like you're aiming for a promotion. Doesn't feel like that. It feels like a stewardship that's been given and a responsibility that's been given. And so that weight, is something that I had never experienced in any of the previous jobs. And part of what you have in the previous jobs, a little bit, it's a little bit like in baseball, how you have a backstop, you know? When I'm a global outreach pastor, I have greater scope of leadership, but I also know that you're right down the hallway and the buck stops more with you than it does with me. And so I can, fiddle around and do things that maybe are not the wisest, but there's a backstop. This role feels way different. And that brings a somberness and a soberness and a desperation, I think, to really lean into God and be driven by Him and His Spirit. Because what you just realize is that the elder board is a bit of a backstop, but it's just different.
It is different.
Yeah.
And I think, like when we launched the Purpose campaign and all that, it's like, if this sinks the ship, there's only one name they're going to associate with it.
Yeah.
And it's not the elders and it's not your other teammates.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
When we announced in August of 21, I was our family always goes to Okoboji. So right before we announced, we were up at this Bible conference in Okoboji, and I said to my brothers and my mom, I said, weird to think that a year from now I might be looking for a job. And the reason for that is, if the ship starts to sink, I'm in a seat of responsibility now. Whereas before, I could stand maybe on the sideline and say, I wonder what Brian's going to do about that or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's just different, And so you just can't really prepare for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Even so, like we're coming up on Christmas and just came through Thanksgiving. But even when tragedies happen on the holidays, it's like, as the business owner, somebody has to be there.
Yeah.
And usually then it was me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call a bunch of staff. It's like, but you can't not do something. Yeah. So it is different.
It's different. Mm-hmm. It's different. I think, my wife has felt that. I mean, it just hits different. And someone would say, has it really? And the answer is that, yeah.
Yeah, it's very different. The other thing I would say on the positive is This church has been great about allowing our wives to just be who they are.
Yeah, 100%.
Sometimes they can put pressure on themselves.
Yeah.
Patty loves behind the scenes, and she's done so many things, and God has used her in so many ways. But there hasn't been pressure from the congregation to be something else.
Yeah.
It's different in a smaller church where the expectation can be different, where she needs to play the piano or lead the choir or run women's ministry or something.
There's no question.
She felt it. The Broken Bow experience, it was a wonderful group of people. And it turned out to be a great experience for us. But it is different. But they were pretty good about allowing Patty to be Patty. But often in those small churches, that isn't the case.
Yeah.
And that can be a difficult place to be.
Yeah, and my journey has been on staff here in different roles. And so I think maybe it'd be easy to start to think, I bet it all feels the same. Just, but there was a marked difference beginning in 2019 when we became members of the directional team. And then for sure in 2021. Now I have to say along with that, it's expected, and it's expected and appropriate, right? Like I think, I felt that when I first became a pastor. There's a sense where just if I didn't go into ministry, going into ministry, there is a weight of responsibility that comes with that. And that's something that I think people going into ministry need to try to weigh and prepare for. I had someone tell me, a pastor in grad school, say, if you're not sure if you're called, don't do it. God will make it clear, but you don't want to do it because it's not like it's more noble or something like that, but it's just, it's a response to a calling. And so I think in the same way, even the weight of responsibility is different, but it doesn't feel burdensome, but it is different. Yeah. And it just comes with the territory.
Yeah. It has to be taken seriously.
Yeah. And thankfully, for me, if there's ever a moment where I'm like, man, that weighs heavy, the next thought is always, I am quite confident God's called me to this. I don't question that for a moment. And so the things that come with it are not things that are burdensome to me, but they're realities, and you just got to take them in stride.
Yeah. Well, you seem to handle it very well. You don't. It's there. It's a reality.
Yeah.
But it's not. You still have to live that way. You still have to be a husband and a father. And
do you think I feel like some people, there's a temptation to become a micromanager? It seems like when you feel that weight shift to you. Like I heard a story once about how a guy said, hey, part of what being the senior pastor, the lead pastor means is that if you see a sprinkler head that's not working, you're on it, and he was telling this as he was passing the buck to the next person, and it does seem like there is this dynamic of having a sense of responsibility and bearing it, but also really being thankful and trusting and entrusting the team that God has given you, and it seems like that's something that's been modeled. It feels as though you've modeled that really well. There are things where you haven't felt like it's your job to do everything, even though this sense of responsibility is something that you're bearing.
Yeah. A couple of things that's helped me. So I don't think I need to fix the sprinkler head.
Yeah.
But I need to hire good people.
Right. Yeah.
That know it's their job to fix the sprinkler head.
Yep.
But ultimately then all those things do come back to you.
Right.
You're responsible to make sure it gets done.
That's right. Yeah.
But my bent would be hire good people and they'll get it done.
Yeah, that's right.
Another thing that's been helpful is I don't look to vacations or sabbaticals to get healthy, but learn to stay healthy in the day-to-day.
Yeah.
Because so much of ministry is unpredictable.
Yeah.
You don't always get your day off.
Right.
And you have to figure out how to stay healthy in the midst of that.
Right.
Or you're probably not going to make it.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's go to the next question. What have been some of the most difficult experiences you've gone through in life? What did you learn going through these experiences? What would you say to those right now who are going through their own very difficult circumstances?
I've never felt pain of loss like I did when my dad died. I don't know. When people talk about feeling crushed and that kind of thing, that's what that felt like to me. Now, Janae and I were spared. We didn't lose young children. I haven't lost a spouse, that kind of thing. But the pain of loss is significant. And in 2019, when that happened, that was a new experience for me. I mean, my grandparents died when they were older. I always describe losing my dad. My dad and I were very close, and I always describe it as like nothing has changed because my day to day goes on, but everything has changed because I described it a little bit as like you're living in a town and there's a mountain on the horizon. And then one day you wake up and the mountain's just been moved. It's gone. And even if you didn't go climb or hike on that mountain, its presence no longer being right there on the horizon is felt every single day, no matter what you're doing. And so that was a paradigm shifting pain that I just hadn't experienced before. And I'll tell you the other thing that was unusual. I didn't anticipate it at all. I loved my dad, but maybe I didn't know how much I loved him till he was gone. And so that was a really painful experience. So I think, what did I learn in that? Not trying to push away grief, not trying to move too quickly through grief. Like part of grief is like I grieved hard on the loss of my dad, and the reason I grieved hard is because I really loved him, and that grief was appropriate in a lot of ways because I loved him so much, and it actually would be sad to not grieve him because that would mean there was a lack of relationship there that produced the kind of grief I felt.
Yeah, it'd be sad.
And so, like understanding that it's okay to sit in that grief and to meet God in that grief and not expect him to take away the grief, but to minister to me in the midst of it. So I feel like there was a deepening of relationship with God that happened there. But I think maybe one thing that I've learned is, all the cliches that people throw out during loss, they're pretty unhelpful. Yeah. And most of the time the call is just, how do I sit? How do I sit in this?
Don't you think the cliches come from people who haven't themselves suffered loss yet?
Yeah, probably. And I always have to remind myself, people are just trying to help. Yeah. They're trying to help. And I think maybe there's some people that feel like grief is a bad thing and how do we get you out of it as quickly as possible? I went through a period when I was in college where I mean, I was a grad student, second year grad student, and I would call it a depression. I don't know if I'd say I was clinically depressed, but man, it was like a storm cloud descended, and everything was gray for a very long period of time. And there was one friend of mine that kept trying to do things to make it go away. It's almost like
to fix it.
They saw it as their job to like, I'm going to get a fan out. We're going to blow these clouds away. And there does come a point where I just had to say to him, I was like, hey, I believe the storm will lift. I don't know when, but I think the harder I try to make it lift, the worse it's going to be. Right. So I think maybe my job right now is just to endure, just keep clinging to God in the midst of the fog and trust that at the appropriate time, the clouds will lift. And so I understood they were just trying to help, but it wasn't helpful actually. That'd probably be the second time. I had never really dealt with that. And that was a mix for me of anxiety and probably some depression as well. And again, it was the kind of thing where, I needed very little. I needed very little from God, but what I did need, I was desperate for. And what I mean by that is I just needed to know if he could just give me a little light at the end of the tunnel, then I'd have strength to keep going forward. It wasn't even, it felt like too big of a step to say, God, will you bring me out into green pastures, right? Like part of it is, I'm in a moment. I don't know what I'm doing in life. I'm not married. I don't have any prospects for getting married on the horizon. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I don't expect God to pick me up and drop me down in a green pasture and answer all those things. But can you just give me a little bit to keep pressing forward? And so that's where when I didn't need much. I wasn't expecting him to resolve all that, but I did need just little winds of hope,
little reminders,
a light at the end of the tunnel. And he did that through friends. He did that through his word. But that was a really painful time. And that was a time too, where I was just asking questions about prayer, because I would pray for complete easing of the difficulties, and the Lord didn't do that. And so it was learning to cling to the answers he did give. I'd say the other thing, your daughter was on the team that we went with to Spain. And that was there was one particular member of the team that, not your daughter, that fell into, I was very close with, but it felt like there were some things that, I'm not saying they did betray me, but it felt like betrayal. And that was gut wrenching. There was one evening where, through my interactions with this person, I physically thought I was going to vomit. It was just so painful. And on top of that, in Spain, we were pretty alone. You're not surrounded by a large community of faith. And so you're sitting there dealing with it, and you're trying to process it. And the other thing that was interesting to me in walking through that is, it just really got me thinking, how often did Jesus feel abandoned by everybody? Now, again, I'm not comparing myself, but you just think about that was incredibly isolating, and I feel like in that, probably there were new depths of learning to cling to God when I couldn't cling to anyone else. So God doesn't waste our really painful moments. And I'd say every painful moment I've had, I don't believe God sends them upon me, but I would say in every case, I can look in the rearview mirror and I can see this testimony of his faithfulness, how he used it to the point where I'd say, I would never want to undo that. I'm thankful for where he's brought me. And I see how it was that he used to bring me where I am. And so I'm not thankful for any of it in the moment, but in hindsight, I'm thankful for how he used it. But man, I would say there was a point in Spain where I was on an airplane, and I remember thinking, there was trouble. There was some trouble going on there was family stuff back in the States. There was all the tension in Spain. And I remember being on a plane and feeling like this is the only place that feels safe right now, because wherever this plane lands, here or there, I'm landing into conflict. And so, those were all hard moments.
Yeah.
I think the thing that I've learned and what I'd say to people is, that is the Lord meets us in those moments and uses them to bring about in us that which he longs to bring about in us. I always think of light momentary afflictions are producing in us eternal weight of glory. Like God uses those things, and he's faithful to use those things. And sometimes the best we can do is in faith, just cling. You know?
Yeah, take it a day at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not try to force a solution. But in the same way that you have to walk through grief, sometimes you got to walk through the wilderness.
Yeah.
And the Lord uses it.
Yeah, he does. I remember when I was recovering from my heart surgery, you're thinking out, and that seems like forever away.
Right.
Like I'll never be that person again.
Right. Yeah.
And part of heart surgery affects your emotions.
Yeah.
So I became in many ways, a different person, very emotional, mostly like would cry real easy. The girls were just laughing about it at Thanksgiving because it's like, who is this? What did you do with my dad? But it's just part of the dynamics of heart surgery. But it does kind of feel like I'll never be like normal again.
Be myself again.
Yeah. So for me, what was really helpful is taking it a day at a time and even breaking up the day.
Yeah.
And just trying to take it in small chunks. And that's what I have today.
Yeah.
Otherwise it gets overwhelming pretty fast.
I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but during sabbatical, it was interesting when there's no agenda. It's real easy to trust God with the moment because there's nothing else coming, as I need to pick up my kids from school and that's about it. And so it's like, okay, how do I trust you with this? And the thing that I've noticed is it's when your calendar's stacked up that it's easy to let your mind wander to start to worry about the meeting you have tonight. We have an elder meeting tonight, 7:00 tonight or 6:00 tonight. I'm thinking about that, And so I was thinking about Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount where he's like, hey, don't worry about tomorrow. Yeah, it's got enough worries of its own.
Yeah.
And it was during sabbatical that I thought, I'm pretty good at saying to the Lord, okay, I won't worry about tomorrow, but I will worry about 3 hours from now. And listening to what he's saying about tomorrow and understanding it applies to 3 hours from now as much as it applies to tomorrow. And it applies to 20 minutes from now, So how do I just trust him with this very moment,
Well, and I think because a lot of pastoral ministry is you're changing hats so fast.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with grief and preparing a funeral, and then you got to go to a budget meeting.
Right.
You got to do sermon prep, and I got an elder meeting tonight.
Right.
And somebody's coming in to talk about addiction. It's like you have to be present in each of those moments. So you really are shifting gears. You have to compartmentalize.
Yeah.
I found the older I get, the more difficult that becomes. I think it takes a lot of energy, and I can't jump from one to the other. It's
almost like I need a longer runway to get into that thing.
And I just feel it differently.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on.
Let's move to the next 7-part question.
Yeah, 7-part. This is shorter.
I'm loving these questions.
As you look to the future of Lincoln Berean, What are you most excited about? And what do you think will be the biggest challenges?
Yeah, I'm most excited about, I think the people who make up Lincoln Berean is what I'm most excited about. We have this incredible, one of the benefits of being a church that's been around for a long time is you have people who have been here, some from the beginning. And that's an incredible gift.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing. And there's fun and exciting things about church planting, and there's a need for church planting. But one of the things you don't quite get with church planting is, a legacy of history and a history of faithfulness. And so we have that. So I'm so thankful for that. I also am thankful that I think I've mentioned before that, we started a new life group, or we got into a new life group. Janae and I are leading it, and pretty much all the people have come within the past 2 years. And so there is this dynamic in this church where the experience is really different depending on how long you've been here. And, they only know you and I pretty much sharing the teaching load. They don't know what was life like at Berea before that.
Yep.
And so it makes it a really dynamic environment to be a part of, is you have a lot of people within the body that have been walking with God at this church for a long time. Others who are just falling in love with what it means to be a part of Lincoln Berean, and they're learning, I love this church and I'm so thankful for this church. And so there's an enthusiasm there that's different. It's not based on decades. It's based on a fresh experience. And so I think just asking God and trusting, hey, what can he do with a body full of faithful people that expect much from him. And so I think that's what I'm most excited about, is just believing that God's brought really good people to Lincoln Berean Church, and there are really, really faithful people, really passionate people that call this their church home, and they're excited to see what God can do. I think the thing that is a challenge is two things. It'd be easy to come to this church and think we can just rest on the laurels of the past. When a church has been around for 60 plus years, you could just start to think, what you and I referenced in our earlier conversation is, okay, we just hold steady. But that's not what God has called us to. It's how do we keep pressing forward? There's a city and a world that doesn't know Jesus Christ. And so how do we keep pressing forward and living on mission? I think the other thing that goes along with that is how do we, one of my biggest concern always is, how do we continue to challenge believers, for lack of a better word, to be wide awake in their walk with Jesus and not sleepwalking? And I think those two things actually go hand in hand. I think as you have a sense of mission, as you have a sense of urgency because of mission, it becomes really apparent really quick. I guess I can choose to be on the sidelines, but I'm missing out if I do that. And so I think the challenge at a church of our size is that it starts to feel like maybe we made it, and that's never going to be true about a church. And so how do we keep stirring up a vision of expecting God to do more, expecting God to use this people that he's called to this church in this moment to reach their neighbors, to reach their coworkers, to reach the city and to reach the world. So it's those two things hand in hand. Incredible, faithful people, but I think the big challenge for us is to not get passive or reluctant or fearful, but to continue to step out in faith and expect God to use this church and the people that make up this church to impact this city and this world. There's been an incredible impact over the years. But the danger is if you only tell stories about the past, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And so it's how do we tell? We want to expect God to tell fresh stories and to move us into new places. And it seems like a lot of organizations die when they just try to survive, and we don't want to do that. We want to continue to be obedient to who God's called us to be.
It's kind of like the prevent defense in football.
Right.
It's like you shift into a different mindset.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get back out of that.
Yeah. And usually, as a fan, when I'm watching the prevent defense, I'm thinking you're giving up all these yards.
Yeah, it prevents the win more times than not.
Absolutely.
But I think it's a mindset.
Yeah.
And then it's hard to get back out of.
Yeah.
We're just now trying not to lose.
Yeah.
And I think churches can do the same thing.
Yeah.
When we were doing 6 weekend services back in the chapel.
Yeah.
And everybody was getting worn out. Giving was stagnant to declining. We had to do something. And I think as elders, we felt pretty strongly God was calling us to take big steps of faith, which included the auditorium, these things that we've done. But it seemed so reckless.
Yeah.
We just really felt stuck, and we'd gone over it and over it for months. And finally we hit a meeting that went late into the night. It went well past midnight, where we were really kind of agonizing over what is God asking of us. And I remember sharing the story of the children of Israel, and they're on the threshold of going into the promised land, and the spies come back, and 10 say, can't do this, and 2 want to go. And as a result of the lack of faith of the 10, they didn't go in. And they would wander 40 years, and that whole generation would die in the wilderness. And thinking it was 10 leaders who cost that entire generation their chance for something that could have been amazing.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to the elders, I would rather die having tried to take the land than to cost a whole generation their chance to go into the land and die in the wilderness. And it's like, we need to make a decision.
Right.
And I'd rather die having tried than not.
Yeah.
And that was the night we finally made our decision.
And what's the biggest decision out of that is to build build E-Wing?
The new auditorium.
Yeah.
And the costs, most of us don't work in numbers of 14, 15, $16 million.
Right.
And it's like, if this all goes south, that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. And to do it without debt. That was part of the, no, we'd pay off the debt quickly. Yeah. By the end of the decade.
Yeah. So literally the weekend we laid it all out, I had several people in the hall say, we think the elders have lost their mind.
Yeah.
But within weeks, people were on board. You could feel it. But there were so many tense moments along the way. There were 2 times we had the elders, we had prayer meeting in what's now the new auditorium on the dirt.
Right.
Because we had big balloon payments coming in. We didn't have the money. And you talk about being in agony and dependent.
Yeah.
But I do think, and I think this is coming, God's going to bring the church to a point where there's no choice but to depend on him.
Right.
And it's going to be something that will get people's attention. I just think that's what God does.
Yeah.
And it'll be well beyond our abilities and capacities.
Yeah. And
it's God's chance to demonstrate his faithfulness.
Right.
And I think the people that were involved in all that with the Purpose Campaign would say it was just a really life-changing experience.
I think so.
They saw God in a way they hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
And it translates into then when my spouse is diagnosed with cancer or my kids rebel or trying to get past this addiction, it's like, if God could do that, then he can help with this. And I think it went well beyond buildings to people really learning to trust God.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, I was here for that.
Yeah. Powerful.
I was here for that. It was powerful. I think one of the challenges now is be interesting to hear your perspective. I mean, it feels as though the building wasn't the point, but the building was representative of something, which I think we're tangible people. I think we like seeing, hey, I'm seeing infrastructure go up. I'm seeing, which I think is an interesting challenge at this point. Now that the building's there, how do we mobilize people and help people be passionate about reaching their neighbors to fill the empty seats, that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, I think who knows what's coming. You know, COVID reminded us anything can happen.
Right, that's right.
So you're right, buildings are tangible, that's helpful.
Yeah.
And then we did the Decade on Purpose, and I've been pleased over the years how many people have referenced back to that as something that was really impactful, but it's figuring out what is that for
What
us?
is that thing? Yeah.
And then getting people on board.
Yep.
It'll happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So the word for me would be expectant.
There's got to be something out there where we reach the point where if God oversleeps tomorrow, we're in so much trouble.
Yeah.
Like versus what can we just pull off?
Right.
We can run the machinery. We can play church.
Right. For
the next 20 years.
Yep.
But I don't know what it'll be. We don't know what it'll be.
Yeah.
There's no big secret that we're hiding or something.
No.
But I think that is part of it. What's going to happen that will cause people to realize there is a God factor that is different. This isn't just a business.
Yeah.
It's the church.
Yep.
And I'm confident God will show up in amazing ways.
Yeah.
All right. How are we doing for time, Marshall?
Great.
All right.
I mean, this camera says 59 minutes. So, I mean.
All right. One more?
I mean, what are you at?
Last question.
Yeah, I think, sure, of course.
Okay. All right. So imagine gathering the congregation together like you would your own family and sharing with them the things you most want them to know about God.
It sounds elementary, but I want them to know that God loves them. Now, he loves them so much that he sent his son. Now, I think the thing that I'd want them to know within that as well is that he loves them so much that he's given them the opportunity to become a part of his family. He's the best father there is, and he is dead set on helping each one of his children grow up and become fully functional members of the family with whom he enjoys incredible fellowship. Now, what I mean by that is, we come to God and he adopts us as his sons and daughters. And we've come out of our really unhealthy worlds and we've come into the healthiest world that there is imaginable. And his driving pleasure is to come alongside of us and help us learn learn the family culture, learn what it means to be a family together, to live in the absolute sufficiency of knowing that he's never going to unadopt us. We're his. He's committed to us, and that he wants us to grow up, that he can grow up and join him in the work he's doing. So I think that'd be that strong impulse of belonging to him. I think we all long for a place to belong. I think we're all thankful. I think one of my concerns in the church sometimes is that we're so thankful we got adopted, but we stop there. And I think the thing that I get passionate about continuing to help people know and live is the process of growing up in the family. Now, maybe that's hard for us because we have bad families, that kind of thing. There's a number of reasons that's hard for us, but to know that we have a God that wants us to grow up in his family, and then he wants to take us to work with him and be involved in his life. I think that's so much what Jesus' parables are about. This is what God's like. This is what he's not like. So God is for you. He has a life that he's made available to you. There's a fully human life that he wants to bring you into, and it's fellowship with him of the same kind that he had with Adam and Eve in the garden. That's available to us through his son. That's a place of absolute sufficiency. That's a place where we're so at home with him and so secure that we can actually hear Paul say, "What can man do to me?" And we can say, I agree with that. I'm with him, and therefore, what can people do to me? And that they'd be absolutely confident that nothing can ever separate them from that love. I think about, the Sermon on the Mount, turning the other cheek. I asked someone in a small group once, hey, which one of Jesus's commandments or one of the things he says, his teachings, do you think is crazy? And of course the answer is everyone, we all give the church answer, and the answer is like, well, none of them, But I said, well, what about turning the other cheek? And one guy without pause said, it's crazy. It's crazy. No one would ever do that, And for me, it's the well-being of knowing that a God that is bigger than all my stuff protects me, cares for me, has my back, protects my reputation, makes it possible for me to say, in this world that's full of trouble, I am in a perfectly safe place because he's with me. That transforms my ability to interact with people who hate me moves me into a whole different plane of existence in some ways, because now, if I get hit, I can respond in compassion, not through gritted teeth, but actually secure in the knowledge that God is with me and God's for me. It's like having the best bodyguard possible or something, I long for people to know that. It seems like that's freedom. That's freedom. That's freedom in the midst of heartache. That's freedom in the midst of conflict. That sufficiency of life with God is to me, that's the freedom we're supposed to walk in. Now, there's things you got to talk about. That's why I was so thankful for your book. I first of all have to believe that he's a God that I want to be with. That he's a God I can trust. But But as I get to know that God and know that he's with me and I can live with him right now, and that transforms everything. It's actually, we say that changes everything, in our culture, we say it all the time. Well, that changes everything. So-and-so hates me. God's with me. You talk about being in Broken Bow and people leaving the church because they don't like you. How do you learn humility through that? But you also learn, there's something that's the most important thing. It's, God loves me. And even though that person hates me, God loves me. And therefore, I can love them in return because I don't have to retaliate. I don't have to defend my reputation. I don't have to convince them that I'm worthy of being loved. I don't have to do any of that kind of stuff because I'm with someone that is more than adequate to the needs that I have in life. So there's a relationship sufficient for all the troubles I'm going to encounter in the world, and it's available to me. That'd be a long fireside chat, but
don't you think a lot of the struggle with turn the other cheek and the things you were just talking about is we're trying to emotionally feel it versus everything you just said isn't emotionally driven, it's truth driven. And if you know the truth, then you live out of what you do believe is true,
right?
And that's what changes things.
I think emotionally driven and maybe law driven a little. Well, that's what I'm supposed to do. I better grit my teeth and do it, which I don't think is what Jesus was teaching at all. I think he was saying there's a life available to you that is so freed.
Yeah, free.
So freed because of how absolutely protected and safe you will be. That actually, that's what you're free to do now. You don't have to hit back. And that's not a position of weakness. That's actually, you're standing in a position of great strength because of who's with you.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think it's either emotion driven or, we just slip back into a legalism pretty easily on that kind of stuff too.
Yeah. Which also goes to eye for an eye.
Right.
Which some people prefer that.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not really what Jesus called us to.
Yeah. To me, it's a heart level, truth based confidence that allows me to say, one of the images I love is Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Hey, we're not bowing down. Now, God can save us, but even if he doesn't, we ain't bowing down. To me, that's an incredible portrait of courage because of who God is. That allows you to even face death with courage.
Yeah, they're going to trust him no matter what.
Yeah, no matter what.
I often ask people love the Joseph story. I often ask them, would you love it as much if he died in prison?
Yeah.
Because a lot of Christians do.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, that's the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yeah.
It's like, well, even if.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah. And well, you think about, we don't like to face it very much in America, but you look at, Stephen died a pretty peaceful death, actually. He was stoned to death, but he was given a vision of heaven that to me probably eclipsed the horrific nature of that moment, So even in that moment, it seems as though the Lord met him in such a way that Stephen died, but I don't know when Jesus says he won't taste death. Part of me is like, I don't know that Stephen tasted death.
Yeah.
That's who God is.
That moment where Jesus is standing at the right hand of God's very unusual.
Yeah.
And he sees that.
Yeah.
It's like hard to even comprehend what that means.
Yeah.
But it's like Jesus was standing to welcome him
Yeah.
home.
Yeah. So that whole thing about, maybe I'm passionate about Brian because it was part of my stories. I like when you say things like, it's more than a ticket to heaven. I think I really wrestled with that myself when I was younger. I knew I was saved by no act of my own. It was purely by the grace of God through faith. My question was, what next?
What now?
And the only answer I could come up with was, for a while, was just kind of just hold on. It'll get better when I die. And so maybe I haven't discovered how to talk about it adequately. I don't know, but that's not a biblical view.
No.
There is much more that we've been brought into right now. Now it's going to get way better also. But I think the absolute fullness of life now with God is the thing that I long, even for some of my Christian friends who it just feels as though they're thankful they have eternity taken care of, but they're not worried about much else until then. And my question is always, not only what does it cost to be a disciple, but have you considered what you're giving up by not being a disciple and by not trying to follow walking with Jesus day to day? What you're giving up is constant abiding with him. And
you have a wedding ring, but you kind of missed the point.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I think
common.
I think it's a hard thing to talk about without it becoming maybe condemning. I don't want it to sound like that. I just got an email from someone, and the question was, they were told that if they die, but they're living in a sin that they haven't repented of, then they'll go to hell, even if they're a believer, and that produces tons of fear in people, and rightly so. And so I was able to write back and say, that's not true at all. Jesus paid it all, and it's done, and it's finished. But it seems as though then talking about, but what does it look like to obey without it reverting us back into maybe a feeling like I'm earning something? I think it's a challenging conversation.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's a little bit like a mom and dad sitting down with their kids, and you're picturing it in your own love relationship.
Yeah.
That this is the beauty of the relationship.
Yeah.
It's what they observe every day. So how do we reproduce that in the church in such a way that people see that's what I want?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not so easy, but that's the challenge.
No, not so easy. And doing it in a way that your kids in your parenting know, listen, none of this compromises my love for you. It's not about that,
It's an invitation. It's not a It's not a law. It's an invitation to enjoy and celebrate the relationship.
What would be your answer to that question? Fireside chat.
I probably would start with, no matter what happens in life, God is good. Because that has so much to do with my own story, my dad's illness. So like when I was 39, when I had my first heart surgery, and I took Ashley out to eat, it's my oldest daughter, before the surgery. The surgery actually ended up on her birthday of all things. But I said to her, honey, if I die on that table, God is still good. It doesn't change anything. Because it's so much a part of my own story. It's like, hey, life's going to get hard. It's going to get painful. A lot of things aren't going to make sense. It may make a lot of sense today, and it may break your heart tomorrow. And And most people aren't going to get out of the story without something like that happening.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's like, but God is still good.
Yeah.
And I think it has to start there. You go back to the temptation, Genesis 3, that's where it starts.
Mm-hmm.
You chip away at your view of the goodness of God, and then you become pretty easy to deceive. So that's probably where I would start.
Yeah.
And then you get into God's grace and all
Yeah.
that. But yeah. Well, all right. Great. It's not my podcast, so I'll let you close it.
Yeah. You're pretty good at asking questions.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. So would love to hear your questions. We always say that the quality of our questions and answers, which we love doing, it's all dependent upon how good the questions are. So send us your questions, comments. You could do that in the comment section in YouTube. You can also email us at don'tjustsittherepod@lincolnberean.org. Next time, Brian will not be here.
No.
I don't know, unless we decide that you're a better co-host than Aidan, which
Oh, boy.
I think there's a good argument to be made there.
Then we could be old and older.
There you go.
It's a new title.
Yeah.
Old and older.
Yeah.
But
Just sit there. Try to stand up. You can't.
Yeah, that's why we're sitting here. You can't get up.
It's too
I've
difficult.
sat so long I can't stand.
Yeah.
So anyway, glad to have you with us. Look forward to seeing you next time in 2 weeks.